because of all therapists are hypocrites. So early on, I decided that anything I ever read, I will first try in my marriage.
So I'm the guinea pig.
Exactly.
So you're like experiment with each other.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, instead of ignoring the hypocrisy, let's own it.
And play with it.
Yeah.
And play with it.
And play with it. To take the shame out of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what makes us human.
So
the more that we can like look at our hypocrisy and see, oh, this is where we're hypocrites, then we can massage it and play with it. And then we can hopefully also change it.
Because here's the book that's in my clinic that every couple sees.
Everyone poops.
Which
everybody poops. And this is the idea. The shit or your
wait. I think Brittany wants to start.
I just want to say one more.
You're like,
the shit is also the fertilizer for your next marriage. The shit that you're hiding is the fertilizer.
That's what we help couples do. We help couples turn their relational shit into fertilizer.
Boom. Tagline, hook. We're done here.
That's about to be the trailer for this episode, just so you all know. Amazing. Sweet. All right. We are back with the How to Relate podcast. I am here with Assael and Galit Romanelli. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast and being the first couple and couple therapists, relational workers on the show.
Yay. Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here.
Of course. I said before, I was like, you guys are like the millennial Gottmans. This is great.
Yes. Please continue.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Anytime. I'll just keep throwing in the compliments. Yes. These are the vibes. All right. So I found you on LinkedIn because you write a blog on Psychology Today.
Yeah.
And I was enjoying reading the blog. And then I also found that you have what's called a remarriage roadmap.
Yes.
Yes. So where do you want to start? Because you also do improv. You also bring in acting. You also have like ninja stuff going on. So like wherever you want to start, go for it.
Let's start with the idea that Estelle Perel said, we will all be married more than once. The question is, will it be with the same partner? Because we're always changing. Okay. She wrote that about 20 years ago, but she never wrote how to do that. So together, Galit and I, we have been working on our own marriage and henceforth with hundreds of couples, and we developed what we call the Remarriage Roadmap, which is how we help couples who like each other, but don't like their marriage, renew, revitalize, reimagine, and redesign their marriage or any relationship. When you say marriage, we mean any long-term committed relationship.
Yeah.
And that's what we do.
I think the idea being that, first of all, I'll speak for myself. I very much believe in change, and everything is constantly changing, whether we want to admit it or not, right? And when we are together in a long-term relationship, we're constantly changing. So how can you navigate that change and make space for it and embrace it so that you can move through the different seasons of your relationship? And essentially the Remarriage Roadmap is a roadmap to invite and welcome those seasonal changes that are inevitable across the span of a lifetime. Right? The people that we are when we transition into parenthood are not the same people that we were when we said, I do, whenever that was, right? And we're not the same people that, when we transition into, new professions, or when we transition, when our kids leave the house. So like all these changes that are inevitable, we've created the roadmap so that we can move through them.
Because the question is not if your marriage will end, it's when, because every marriage will end. It's just a matter of time. And the ABCs are going to be what's going to end your marriage.
Before we get to the ABCs, I want to get there. How do you know that your marriage is ending? Like, what are some key points or symptoms that people might be experiencing to say, oh, this is my marriage ending, or marriage as we know it ending?
Well, actually, it's funny enough. Those are the ABCs. Those are the three things that you're going to notice. Okay. So let's incorporate that. By the way, we didn't introduce, we can introduce ourselves, or we can just jump in.
Oh yeah, we already did that. So you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
We're introduced. Okay.
Yes.
So,
so the ABCs will create a sense of tension or a surface kind of like, oh, wait, maybe we need to renegotiate, right? So A is a third, right?
affairs, a third or affairs.
Great. A third or affairs, right? Something that is pulling me outside, pulling my attention, my libido in terms of like my life force, not necessarily sexual drives, but something that is pulling my attention outside of the dyad, outside of the relationship, right? So that can be an affair, and it can also be my PhD, my girlfriends, my kids.
I'll
Right.
give an example. Okay. So for instance, we relocated from Israel a year ago. So about a year ago, I took on one to write my book. Right. So I wrote my first book. It's called How to Remarry a Partner. And that was my lover. That was my third. I was thinking about the book. I was dreaming about the book. I was focused completely about the book. I had nothing to give my wife because I had another woman in my life, which was the book. Okay. That's a
Mhm.
classic third that sucks the libido out of a relationship. Okay. And I think for a lot of couples, they think affairs, they only think about a sexual affair, but there's a lot of these micro affairs, these third, we call them a third, right? Something that's outside the diet that is pulling your attention, your libido, your excitement. Galit's doing her piece.
Your passion,
Right.
right? That's like,
Mhm.
oh, I want to spend my time and energy there. That's like, that's fulfilling for me. That's fun for me. And how can we
Mhm.
use that, right? So that's one pull. Oh, wow. And side note, part of what we teach is how we can take that energy, how we can like name that third so that what that gives the partner can then be poured back into the relationship.
So the first sign, okay. So like,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay. So
So
I was gonna say the other term that's coming to mind is attachments. And what's the third thing I'm attached to? So that can be like you mentioned your book. I think about people who are working a lot and they're gone, but I'd have to be with my phone, the phone being a third thing, of course, because
exactly.
it's in everyone's pocket, bedroom, and everywhere else. Like, so yeah, so that there's this third thing that I'm attaching to that is not you and could be impacting our connection.
Here's the
Exactly.
classic one that nobody talks about is your children, right? We
True.
glorify mothers who did give everything to their kids, right? That's
Mhm.
also an affair in a sense, a third. So it's a sign that the question was, what are signs that your marriage is ending? One sign is
Mhm.
that all the libido is being outsourced outside the marriage, either by both partners or by one partner. Okay, that's going to happen sooner or later. The question is, what are you going to do with that? So that's the A. We spoke about thirds and affairs. Okay.
Mhm.
The B is boredom. Like, I know what you're going to say, here we go, another date night.
I want more. This isn't enough, right? This isn't working for me anymore. This pattern that we're in is boring. I don't feel like I'm growing, thriving, interested, curious. Like, where is the energy? Where is the spark, right?
Right. And the
Mhm.
boredom usually leads to a third, right? Because I'm bored here, so I'm looking out. And the
Yep.
third is a change. One of you has gone through a change. You got pregnant, you gave birth, you're choosing your career.
You moved, a death in the family, you know, just life,
Perimenopause. Mhm.
perimenopause. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any life transition that kind of like really exposes and surfaces the change.
Like a major change in our marriage. One of our remarriages, we're in our sixth marriage to each other, was when Galit quit her day job, working, a 9 to 5, and became self-employed, which shifted the whole power dynamic and the financial reality of our marriage.
Right.
So that's
And I said I wanted to go back to school to complete a PhD, right? That required us to renegotiate our marriage.
Mhm. So then how did you renegotiate that? What were some of the conversations you had to negotiate?
well, that already goes into the model, which we'll explain in a moment. But I think
Yeah.
our first marriage ended like I think the model grew out of our experience that after 7 years of marriage, our first marriage was ending because what was happening, I was starting to outsource my libido. I was doing my PhD. I was rocking it outside the house. And I had this
Mhm.
kind of mental affair with a colleague that we had that I was really interested in talking to her. And we were like, and the energy was out there and not in our marriage. And that
Mhm.
slowly led to a T junction of kind of, we had this moment of like, what's happening here between us? Because
Interesting. Yes.
it's never like a harmonious, oh, it's time to remarry. No, something
Right.
happens. There's a fight, there's a T junction, there's a,
Right. I think that's kind of why I despise the terms work husband or work wife because in that you are kind of saying that there's this other person that is out there, but you're naming it something cute, but isn't always that cute. So it's like, oh, if I put a cute name to it, like, oh, they're my work husband, they're my work wife, like, honey, Frank, he's great, like
Right.
just yeah. But it's like, oh, there is something happening here. So yes, so
Right. And
understand what you mean.
what happens when Frank knows more about you than your husband, right? What
Right. And
happens?
you're spending more time with Frank at
Mm.
work. And Frank gets to see the excited parts of you. Frank gets to see when you're in
Exactly.
your most confident self. You're probably dressed for work. You're not in your sweatpants chasing kids around if you have kids or whatever is happening. So, yeah, they see like the best versions, so to speak, of you in that environment.
Yeah, they get to see you in your mastery, right? Which is
Yeah.
when we're like in flow and confident. And that's so attractive. And we feel attractive. Yeah. And so, like, so how can we bring more of that into the relationship? But to your point, or to like how we negotiate, I think every time we recognize it, like, okay, we're in some form of transition, we're in some form of big change that requires us to renegotiate what works between us. And then how do we do that? And we've relied on our model, which initially started from this big rupture of like being pulled out to a third, right? Having me confront, like, I'm not bringing those parts of myself, right? I'm not bringing my mastery.
Mhm.
That's what Ased was seeing. Ased was seeing me like he was seeing a very small version of myself that I wasn't bringing home. And it
Mhm.
really required us to look at that and see what each one of us was looking for and what our needs were and what parts of ourselves we weren't bringing into the relationship.
What was
Mhm.
interesting in the story is like when I read Perel years ago, I read that sentence. I was like, oh, that's a cute idea. Fast forward 8 years when the shit hit the fan, it was time like, okay, what are we going to do? Because most couples, they'll either cleave to the original contract because that's what we signed 10 years ago, even though it's not relevant anymore, or we'll separate and start again. Nobody thinks about the third option. But for that, you really need to go deep because as in systemic therapy, we call that a second order change. So we're not just doing more or less of the same thing. It's not like it's a qualitative difference. And I think for a lot of couples, they're scared because in order to remarry your partner, what you need to do first is divorce. You need to first tear up the original contract. You need to let go of
Mhm.
and that's scary.
What original contract do you think most people are coming in with?
Mm. I think most of us are coming in with some version of what we saw at home, right? Because that's the other piece is that the images that we see and consume, right, are either this like drama filled version, right? That's like so dramatic and like highs and lows and right, or a version of what we saw at home, which who knows, right? How much of that we want to recreate, and so what does creating a script together look like, right? How do we unpack our relational backpack, see what I have in my backpack, what you have in your backpack, and then create an improvised script, right? That
Mhm.
we're creating together.
Another thing we've noticed is a lot of relationships start in hierarchy. Unconsciously, implicitly, we divide who's better in what. We call that the
Mhm.
95-70 dynamic. Okay. You're a better cook. I'm a better parent. You're better in sex. I'm better looking. And that's how couples shake. And they don't talk about it. We just shake on that. Okay. And then what happens
Mhm.
is that's the original contract. Sooner or later, one of the partners is going to say, I want to renegotiate that.
Right, because just like I mean, we were brought up Esther Perel, who I also love and adore, and she would say that the parts of us that draw us into someone are also the parts that drive us crazy. And so, in that original negotiation, yes, like you working all the time and being so ambitious drew me to you, but now it's driving me crazy, and it's not sustainable for a marriage.
Right. Like in our first marriage, I was quote unquote the smart one and she was the cute one. We had this division. We never spoke about it, but that was the shade. Okay. Even though when we met, we had the same level of education. Okay. So this
Mhm.
was an unconscious handshake that we did that that we both agreed upon. Now, yeah.
How did you make that explicit?
That's a really great question. I think to be honest, on our first date, we talked about it. We like, right? We were very I knew that that was kind of a narrative and an identity that I had been caring, that I was cute, right? And like you're saying, right? I was attracted to Assael because he really embodied that, like, I'm smart, and was unapologetic about it and kind of named it. And that fit with me being cute,
Mhm.
right? And by the way, part of me pursuing the PhD was like, wait a minute, there's more to me than just being cute, right? How do I expand this? How do I bring this part of myself?
I'll give you another example of
Mhm.
hierarchy in our first date. Oftentimes when we work with couples, we go back to the first date because that's when a lot of the handshakes were happening. So
Implicit handshake.
implicit handshakes. Okay. So Galit threw
Yes.
it.
It just happened to be explicit, but that's because we did a lot of work.
It's true. So Galit threw, and there was a joke. She said, fathers are overrated
Right.
as a joke.
So that was the narrative that I had grown up with, right? That's insight
Mhm.
into what's in my relational backpack.
So for me, I laughed and we high-fived on that joke. So in a way, symbolically, implicitly, we were shaking. Okay, you'll be the 95 in parenting, I'll be the 70. That's an example of a handshake, that implicit handshake. So every couple starts in hierarchy. There's just nobody wants to talk about it because it's not nice or sexy or romantic. And when we remarry, what we're basically doing is we're slowly softening that hierarchy, which is implicit because we're in a patriarchal, hierarchical world, into equality, into equity. Because mature intimacy, as Terry Real talks about, is eye level. And that's what
Mhm.
we help couples do. We help with every remarriage, you're softening the hierarchy, the seesaw, into something that's more and more eye level. And
Yes.
and the result is, as the name of our book is, feel free together. At the end, you will feel free together next to each other.
I like that because I think especially here in America, there's so much pressure for things to be equal. And you're naming it, we're all coming in on the first date, even with these inequalities. And you're recognizing it, you're naming it, and you're going, actually, here's what we all came in with. And now it's all, the terms are up to be renegotiated.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we don't even really name like, oh, I identified as like the cute one or the smart one, and how those have interplayed, or I identified as the ambitious one or the one that's so type A and keeps the house all organized, and how those two come into play. So that if we don't really name it in terms of how it's going to play out in the relational dynamic, then we go in unaware around it until shit hits the fan and then you can't ignore it.
Right. Because we're going to be acting out that shit will be acted out. So you either own it or
Mhm.
change it. And that's what we help couples do. We help couples own their shit. And when we mean shit, we mean the shadow, all the different parts of ourselves or our relationship that we don't want to talk about, that society told us are not good or not okay, our aggression, our sexuality, our vulnerability. And it's those shadows, it's those shits that actually are the fertilizer for your next evolution. Your superpower is in your shadow, not in your business card.
Yes, which Jung would definitely say that the power is in the shadow. So then, okay, because the framework you have playing,
Play.
uh, play. I love the next one, letting things land. I say that all the time. Let it land. So, what is letting it land?
So letting it land is really digesting the message that my partner is giving me. And it's like full body listening. So Asan is giving me a message, and I am really like letting it land in my body and seeing where does that message land in my body, because that will be an indication for me. That's information, that's data that I can use, right? About myself, right? So oftentimes we talk about like a button, right? Sometimes he will have a message and that will land in different places in my body that will indicate to me like, I'm getting activated. That feels really nice. Or that, right? Why does that message land like this and that message lands in a different place? So that's data for me to use. And also, it allows me to really hear him instead of getting defensive or dismissive or deflecting, right? It allows him to be my side mirrors, because your partner sees you in a way that most people don't get to see. They get the backstage pass. And so they have all this insight and information that most people don't get. And so if you allow them to be the side mirrors, that is a huge springboard to growth.
Because marriage is a relational playground helping us grow. That is where we grow in our marriage. If you know how to do it right in a long-term committed relationship, you will grow.
Because we
Mm.
view long-term relationships, right? Marriage as a playground. right? So the playground when we were kids was the place where we could experiment, where we could grow, where we could play, where we could be in awe and wonder and creativity, and also face rejection, fear, disappointment. Like it had all those things. It had a very wide, we were able to have a wide emotional range in the playground. And then as adults, we move away from that. And what we kind of, our approach suggests that marriage is that playground. Marriage is that place where I can have a wide range of emotions and learn and grow about myself, right? Where I can face all that richness, right? Of problem solving and creativity and rejection and disappointment and fear.
So we like to take each one of these pillars and break it down to practical steps. So we're going to give you the syntax. The syntax for those listening right now who want to practice the muscle of letting it land, because I'm reminding you, our mind is our bodyguard. So anything that my mind doesn't like, it's going to block. That's yours, bullshit, not true. So you have to fire the bodyguard, befriend the whoosh, which is that sensation when I'm letting what she's saying in. Okay. Then be grounded. So the syntax that's going to help you is tell me more. Tell me more. It's the antithesis of blocking. Right. In improv, we talk about blocking is rejecting the other person's reality. So we're yes-anding. So if play was yes and, let it land is tell me more. Because the body's always in the present, the mind's in the past or the future. So it's a muscle we work with. We teach couples, we help partners. Take a breath, let it land. The Gottmans call this accepting influence. Research shows that this is a variable that makes a difference between masters and disasters of relationship. So this is backed up by research and the data. So this is just an improvisational vehicle on a psychodynamic concept, if you will.
Absolutely. I can imagine that the sort of prerequisite to something like this is trust between both partners. Because I like what you're saying, that blocker will come and say, no, you're going to try and hurt me. No, I don't know if I trust what you're saying. No, I don't want to see that in myself. And to say, okay, I'm going to put that guard down to be able to receive and let what you're saying land. It sounds like it requires a great deal of trust that you have each other's best interests at heart, that there is a generous interpretation. What you're saying to me is not meant to annihilate me, that what you're saying to me is your experience, your truth, so to speak, that is meant to serve as feedback for me, something you want me to understand, something that I can understand in myself, a level of awareness, whatever the intention might be.
So that's why the prerequisite for that is play.
Yeah.
And let's double click on play for a second, because it's really,
Yes.
it's the basis of our model.
Yes, because play is, as Assael likes to say, the lube of life. But play is that moment of connection, right? Where I'm able to raise that white flag and say, this is not a threat. You are safe here. And that's why when we can incorporate playfulness, right, and a playful mindset, then we're inviting that joining, that connection.
The way we define play is an authentic connection through a wide emotional range. It's not taking myself too seriously or Galit too seriously, softening up. I'm not every single thing she's saying is against. It's to soften. And for that, it's a muscle, and we need to practice that. We teach couples how to play together, just enjoy each other a little bit, because we have to lube up the space a little bit. We have to soften reality, step out of the reality into the potential state. Name drop of our company, potential state is a state between reality and fantasy. So,
because essentially what we want to do by adopting a playful mindset is we want to move out of the binaries, right? When we're in the binaries, then it's right or wrong, right? Win or loser. And that is when we get kind of our guard up and defenses and feel like, oh, this rupture is going to be a threat. But if we can recognize that play and a playful mindset offers us more options, there's a third way where your truth is your experience and my truth is my experience. Now let's understand each other, right? Now let's understand the world. It's not about winning or losing. It's about a greater understanding. Oh, this is how you understand this experience. Oh, because that's what's in your relational backpack. Wait, let me show you what's in my relational backpack. And then we can understand each other more.
So from either or, which is hierarchy and binary, to yes and, which is multiplicity, which we know is one of the crucial factors of a happy marriage, the ability to hold multiple feelings. That's also connected to differentiation. My ability to hold myself and to hold Galit at the same time. Yes and. So that's the prerequisite to let things land.
Which, by the way, I just want to like connect it to what you were saying of naming the hierarchies and naming what we're coming with. That's the idea of play, right? Is that if we can expose it, then we can play with it. And then it loses its shame or threat or danger and becomes like, okay, like it's light. Let's play. Let's get curious. Let's see what's in here. Right. And the greatest kind of like the greatest antidote to fear is love and play. Right. If you can like, it's like that jujitsu move of like using your opponent's play will diffuse the stress, the threat, into something that like, okay, we're on the same team. Actually, we're in this together. So let's look at this differently.
Yeah. When, let's say someone or a couple has been in conflict for a while and they both have built up their negative core images of each other. And now it feels like every time I come home, I'm waiting for the criticism to come, my defenses to arise. And that's the dance we're going to go through for the rest of the night between our 5 to 9. And then we go to sleep and we do it all over again tomorrow. If someone is stuck there, where would you say, like, try this to play? Like, what might be a strategy that they could use?
I love this. 2 things come to mind, and then I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
It's almost like we're 2 different people.
It's almost like we're 2 different people.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
well, let's get the same answer.
Yeah, that would be fun. Movement. I think we underestimate how much moving helps us move through the emotions. So I would say go for a walk. Have that hard conversation as you are both walking, because the bilateral stimulation helps, the movement helps, and you're not making eye contact. I think that too often we forget that actually eye contact can be a trigger because it is intimate, because it is intense. And so if you're standing side by side, the message that you're giving your body is we're walking through this together. And we're literally side by side. We're on the same team. We're facing the challenge, whatever that is, together. And 2, one that I love is speaking in song. So like playing with our inflection, playing with our intonation, because it reminds us that like a lot of our communication is nonverbal, and our intonation and tone of voice, all that stuff really has an impact. And so if we can like play with it.
Good example. Do it.
I hate when you leave chia all over the sink. It drives me bonkers.
Don't understand why it drives you bonkers. I told you I'd wash it later.
Right. So just that's the idea of play, of like not taking myself too seriously, not taking this moment too seriously, and being able to express myself.
I'll add to that. The second I can sing, I'm showing my partner that I have my prefrontal cortex, because you can't be playful when you're in survival mode. When your sympathetic nervous system is on the fight or flight, you're not, hey, doopy doopy doopy. But if I see my partner singing, it's basically they're waving their white flag saying, I want to play. I'm not in game, I'm in play. Come. So that's
right.
That's how we signal it.
Oh, this is great. I love that.
Yeah.
I love all these strategies. The thought that came to mind is that growing up Catholic, it's like they love to just sing words. And so I think of how that's just done on a regular basis. But I'm like, yeah, that is a fun strategy to use, and inviting. It's so inviting. It takes all the defenses out of it. Yeah.
Again,
but I also want to say I could do the play, like we have a workshop just on how
it's called playground. Playground. That's exactly what it is.
But even like growling or like making the like now, right? Like that is like playing it out, right? That's like where the theater, where the improv comes out. Like bring your theater class from when you were in 8th grade out, right? Because it allows you to express it in a non-threatening way. And so you're able to get it out. And then you can both work with that, right? But in a way that's not like, it doesn't become explosive.
And for those listening, we're saying, I'm not playing. We're all, our mother tongue before we learned English or German or Spanish was play. It's in our body. We need to give it permission to play. It's a muscle. Every one of these pillars, it's not like either you have it or you don't. It's a muscle. And the more the partners practice that, the more they'll be able to take it out when they need to, break an emergency.
Right.
Like if you're not playful, if you're going to, in a fight, sing for the first time, it's not going to work.
Right.
It's going to have to, like any other skill, you have to practice it. You have to get it in the muscle.
Like yoga, you have to practice a playful mindset. You have to bring it into practice. So all our pillars are, and that's why we kind of like have the syntax, because it's all a practice.
Yes.
And then it becomes the language that you relate with to each other. And then it's much easier to negotiate the ruptures and repair. And it's much easier to negotiate the transition.
Because essentially, I'm going back to the beautiful metaphor of play as a lubricant, okay? When you're playful, so even if you have a rupture, it's soft. You can go through that cycle because the heartbeat of every relationship is rupture and repair. It's the heartbeat. There is no harmony. It's always going to be harmony, disharmony, repair. What's going to help you move through that is a play, soft perception of yourself and the other.
Yes. Yeah. That if you can soften it, you can work with it. Even I love this. Chris Brock has this stand-up quote, and he's like, even when you're on a first date with someone, you're not on a first date with them, you're on a first date with a representative. And it's like, just that alone, I'm like, yeah, you're kind of playing there's a representative part of you coming out in all these contexts. Just because it gets more, long-term, life gets more serious or hard, or you're in conflict or whatever it is. And it feels like that's so tried and true. And it's like, that's no more or less tried and true than the playful part of you that gets to go to a soccer game later on tonight. Or that gets to do yoga, or it's like neither one are so truth embodied all the time. It's like they're fluid.
Yes.
And I'll add to that. Dr. Stuart Brown says the opposite of play is not work. The opposite of play is depression. The opposite of play is depression. So actually, when play gets sucked, we meet couples when they've lost all their play. And then everything is game. Everything is binary. Everything is like
win or lose, right? This fight is going to make
it's a minefield, right? And then what we have to do is we have to squirt a lot of play in the room, also on ourselves, but also on the couple. So there'll be space to wiggle. So you have wiggle room to do something, to sing.
Can I ask, when you're doing this with couples, are you imagining hey, I'm just squirting lube on you? Are you taking it those and being I'm just going to squirt? That's why I'm just going to
Yeah. But
I can imagine taking a ketchup bottle and being here, go squirt some lube on yourself and go play. That's
yes, exactly. And by the way, I just want to say, I'm opening parentheses. Yeah, therapists, we need to know how to play. And Winnicott said that a therapist that cannot play shouldn't be a therapist. We need to. It's a life skill.
It's the oxygen mask.
Yeah.
It's the oxygen mask, because that's what allows movement. That's what allows perspective. That's what allows us, creative problem solving. It literally moves us away from rigidity.
It's we take play very seriously.
Yeah.
And we really believe it's a crucial skill for any relationship.
Right. That it's a life force, not a nice to have.
Yes.
It's when we're young, right? It's you have to do your homework first before you get to play. And it's what if you reverse that? What if it was that you get to play first, and then the hard stuff, it makes the hard stuff easier.
Also, it's an evolutionary, right? How do you know an animal is healthy? It plays.
I just want to put an asterisk for anybody hearing that's oh my God, chaos, right? Oftentimes when we talk to couples or teach workshops about play, people are oh my God, but then, but there are certain rules and you have to follow them. And there will be chaos if we all just, play and did what we want. Play is the how, right? So the what is the marriage, the what is the job, okay? But it's how we move within that framework. And if you go to a park, right, or you go to a playground, there is a gate, there is a fence. There are guidelines, there are rules, right? And it's how we move in that playground. So I just want to just for all the people listening who are oh my God, but there will be sheer chaos. No, if you infuse a little practice of play here and there, everywhere, it won't be chaos. It will be creativity and movement and flow.
And collaboration and so energy and fun.
Right. And fun.
Yes.
And I think that's the important part, because I think oftentimes what ends up happening, especially between couples when things become so tense, is that then they don't want to meet. They don't want to meet. They don't want to engage. They're not looking for that interaction. In fact, they're avoiding that interaction. And then they use distraction or conflict as a means of not connecting. And play, no, actually, it's fun. Actually, even the conflict can be fun and funny. We can laugh at ourselves as we're going through this, so that it can be the gold mine where we can extract the data and the learning for the future.
Because marriage is a people growing
sure.
mechanism. We're back to people growing mechanism. This is all a way to fulfill ourselves. It's a vehicle for self-fulfillment.
Right. So we have play, which is yes, and we have let it land.
Look at you. Go on. I love it.
It's almost as though it's our joint model. Let it land, right? Which is the full body listening.
Tell me more.
Tell me more. And then we have say the thing.
Say the thing. Explicit, one-dimensional communication, not to self-present. Everything's okay, but what's really happening right now.
Name it to tame it so that you can play with it, so that you can.
A lot of couples have fuzzy communication. We're spending so many hours mind reading. What did you actually mean? And we're shitty mind readers. That leads us to negative sentiment override, what you were talking about before. So the antidote for that is notice it comes after play and after you let it land, after you let your partner's words in, then you communicate clearly. So for one technique that we teach couples, for instance, is talking in numbers from 1 to 10, and you can't say 5. Okay. How much do you want to go to my parents' house tonight? Okay. Boom.
2.
All right. And then we have play.
Great. Okay. And now we can work from there, right? Like now I know, okay, you don't want to go. Great. How much is this a priority for you, right? How much is like tidying up the house a priority for you on a scale of 1 to 10? You can't say 5. Okay. You can't say 5 is the playfulness.
And
right?
I would say, is 5 a strategic number?
Because 5 is
5
blurry.
doesn't say anything.
5 is
5
blurry.
is nothing. It's neither here nor there.
So do you know what's funny? I always say you can't say 7. Because most of the time when people give you a rating on a scale of 1 to 10, oftentimes they'll be 7 because anything else seems too low. I think it's the American optimistic version of a 5. It's like, oh,
Wow.
7, they did so good, like you look at them, maybe they tried, and it's like, right. But like, if you're telling me a restaurant's a 7, and do I go to eat there? It's above a 5, but it's not a 10. I mean, so I typically use just semantics here. But I typically use the rule of thumb where I'm like, if you're going to give me a rating, you can't say 7 because then it's like, I know that if you're telling me an 8, it's like really good. And if you're telling me like a 6 or below, I'm like, we have some work to do.
That is so, I've never heard that.
It's cultural difference for us then.
We have to check that.
I just kind of cast it up to where the Ted Lassos of,
Yeah.
So we're all going and like, enjoy it. Yeah.
So that's a muscle that we help couples work with, and it's super important. And that's what's going to help you feel free to, again, you want to feel free together. Part of it is being able, it's being able to say my truth in real time. And Sharsh calls this moving from self-presentation to self-exposure. We call this to broadcast live.
But I also want to say that like say the thing is also learning how to speak in I language, really, not I feel that you, right? But saying like, I am jealous. I am afraid right now, right? And then being able to meet with that without having to feel the same thing, right? So often, like emotional contagion and the expectation, like if I'm feeling this, then you also must feel this. And we want, and again, back to the play, like we want to be able to expand our experience, our emotional range. And we can the goal is to be able to experience something and then each one of you can have a different feeling, understanding from that same experience. There is room for both.
And that is multiplicity differentiation. That's why our definition of mature intimacy is feeling, together. We're both feeling next to each other, but we're not necessarily feeling the same thing. And the syntax for say the thing is part of me. Okay. Part of me right now doesn't want this podcast to end. Part of me is really enjoying seeing Galit surprise me. So it's my way of saying different parts of myself, but it's not everything. As you said, it's not all of me. There's a part of me that really enjoyed the podcast. There's a part of me that's surprised. There's a part of me that's hungry. And that's my way of broadcasting live without feeling like I have to commit to one thing. And we've noticed because I speak man and I work a lot with men in the clinic, oftentimes men need that tell me what to do. So here is the syntax, use this, cut and paste. And we found that this is something that's really, really important that helps people say the thing.
Because intimacy is into me see. So how can we bring our internal world externally, explicitly, right? How can we, in a clear, concise way, Because oftentimes it gets so buried under so many words that we've lost what we're actually trying to transmit.
So, because if you would, Brene
Right.
Brown says clear as kind, right? So if you would, we talked about going to my parents, you'd be like, well, I'm not sure. What about, well, we have love, right? The second you say 2 out of 10, okay, there might be a rupture, but at least there's clarity and we're spending the energy on solving the moment instead of like trying to understand or decipher what you actually mean.
Okay, 2 out of 10, tell me more.
Exactly. And then we're
Right?
back.
We're back to letter light. So it's a dance.
It's a dance.
It's a dance.
Right. Because usually the dance goes would be something like 2 out of 10, you hate my parents. You always do this.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
opposite would be tell me more. Tell me why. What happened?
Mhm.
Oh, I get that. Okay, play. Okay. Yes, and okay, you don't like them. I do like them. Okay, there's differences. You were insulted by my dad's remark. I actually thought it was a joke. Ah, because subjective is the only objective in relationship. There is no objective in relationship.
Mhm.
And it's all about learning to hold both. That's what it's about.
Do you think that people struggle holding both because they so badly want to be understood, but the conflation of being understood is you agreeing with me and my point of view on this, that's where some of the breakdown happens? Because I feel like sometimes I see this where we talk about like the differentiation piece, right? Like I have my feelings and my stuff, you have yours. And let's say that it's this example. Your dad made that joke to me and I was so insulted. And it's like, but like, I just thought it was a joke. Like, I just thought like, almost like, I want to talk you into why it was okay. I want you to come back on my side over here. Like, it was fine, right? Like, he didn't mean it. He really didn't mean it. Come on. And then it's like, then it further pause. No. And now you don't understand me. And now I feel like I have to fight for my feelings to be heard. And it's like, well, I just want you to like my family, right? So then like you kind of see how this like it feels like I'm fighting to get you to be on my side, but by doing that, I'm creating more of a division between us.
Yeah. And part of the reason that, and so what we try to teach couples we try to teach couples to hold that tension, right? Because differentiation is essentially the pull between wanting to belong, right? You see, like, we're the same, you see the same, that you see and understand the experience the same as me. And I'm an autonomous individual and I see things differently and I am unique and I am different than you, right? And so how do we
Mhm.
hold that tension? We don't need to resolve that tension. We need to learn how to hold that tension where
Right.
we don't have to see eye to eye. Differences are interesting and they are important in our relationship and they allow us to each be our own unique selves and we can still be connected and together. And so that's the muscle, right? Of being able to hold that tension. And just like going to the gym, right? We develop our muscles. We have to actively engage them. So it's actively learning how to hold the tension rather than try and resolve it by being, no, but actually, this is why, and then it stops being, I don't need to convince you. I just need
Yeah.
to understand you.
Because
Right.
we're attracted because of because of the similarities, but it's the differences that keep us interested in each other over
Right.
20, 30 years. So the reframe for couples here is to enjoy the differences. And when we teach the art of conflict, basically conflict is a playground for differences. So the reframe is you want to get curious about the differences because that's what's interesting. And I think people are afraid of differences because we either have a symbiotic fantasy that if I'll find someone and he'll love everything about me and we will live happily ever after. Okay. So we equate agreement with love.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
Oh,
That's a big one.
oh,
Good. That's a good one. Yeah.
Emphasis on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that happens. I think that happens a lot. And it's sometimes it's kind of hearing people when I'm working with couples, it's like, I'm hearing you say you want to feel understood when I think that what you actually looking for is for them to agree with you. And
Yes.
that there's a difference in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why
Mhm.
the play piece, right? Because that's the foundation. It's and it stops being but. It doesn't need to be, get the hairy butt out of it, right? We don't. And so oftentimes when I work with couples, I'll really pay attention and surface how often they say but, right? So it becomes yes, but, which is no. Yes, but it was a joke, right? Instead of
Right.
yes, and I understood it to be a joke. And that doesn't take away from how you experienced it. There is the and in vice, there is room for both of us in this relationship. And both can be true. Yes, it can be
Yes.
insulting and it could be a joke. Both can be
Yes.
true.
And then I remember working one time and it was the two things can be true. And it was like someone going like, "Oh, but I don't like that." And I was like, yes, that can also be here. It was like, well, I don't like it when she's out with her friends on a Saturday afternoon. I was like, yes, and
Yeah,
that can also show up here.
It's true.
Two things can be true.
exactly. And that is the muscle that we're learning to expand, right? It's being able to sense that discomfort of like, I don't like it. And yeah, this is part of the experience, the reality, the truth. Yeah.
Apropos truth, that leads us to the fourth pillar. So we have play, which is yes and. Let it land, which is tell me more. Say the
Yes.
thing, which is part of me. And the last part of our model is owning your shadow or owning your shit.
Which sounds like the truth is.
Because the shadow, we spoke about that earlier, it's all the different parts that I minimize, project onto others, but that's actually my superpower. Okay. So the way that I can own my shit with my partner is we have to have play, right? I need to be playful. I have to take myself too seriously. I need to really let her in. And once I feel comfortable on saying the thing, then I can own little shadows, little shits that I have in my marriage. Because the truth is my partner feels everything anyways. We're not good actors. She senses it. So when I say the truth is, it's the fastest way for me to own my shit.
Yes.
So the truth is I wasn't really listening to you right now.
Right. And it's the antidote to gaslighting because if I'm like, I know that you weren't listening and he's busy denying it, all that does is furthers the wedge between us and it invites self-doubt, right? Because then I'm like, wait, was he? Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I wasn't. Was this really my experience? And we don't want that. We want to be able to trust ourselves. We want to be able to trust our partner. And so that is the relational integrity of the truth is, I actually did that on purpose because I knew it would piss you off. That's the truth. When we're able to own it, then in those times when your partner's like, actually, no, legit, I did not do this to upset you, or legit, this was an accident, you'll believe them because they own up when they do it, intentionally. And there is normal marital status. And sometimes we do want to poke at and jab at the person that we love.
And if you really want to feel loved, you have to own your shadow, or else you'll never believe it. If you don't show your shadow and your partner says, I love you, you'll be like, well, if you only knew how sick, perverted, cheap, jealous I am. But if the second you say it and you're out, then you'll actually feel loved because it's out there. You're not presenting.
Right. In a way, the best way to have a pity party is to invite someone else in it. And when you invite someone else in it, you're no longer having the pity party for yourself. So
Exactly.
inviting someone into that space can feel jarring for some people. It can feel icky. And it is a true form of intimacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the model. And each one of those, obviously there's a whole like theories behind it, but essentially those are the four muscles. Those are the four movements, the four steps that will help couples remarry each other. Same partner, new marriage. Play, owning your shit, letting it land, and saying a thing.
I love this. I love a process. And this is so concise yet so comprehensive at the same time. Like it feels like, I mean, you're pulling from, I'll say, like, also a lot of people that I also enjoy learning from and making it so comprehensive, but simple and like the best way possible. Like this is like you're not trying to beat into, like, I come from EFT land, and sometimes in EFT land, I'm like, we're doing a lot of work to get to a place that I feel like could easily just be like, can you just tell me the thing? Can you just say it? Can we just go there? Thanks. I don't know how to, I want to keep going. Yeah. Totally. Like, I don't want to keep doing that until the end of time.
It's true.
It's true. I know. And couples also appreciate it. And people, I think, in general appreciate it because you're kind of like, one, you are showing up as human therapists, and it kind of like where it started, right? Therapists are hypocrites all the time because we normally wouldn't talk to our partners in that way either. But it's also like how to make it practical, how to make it like we're going to get somewhere. Like we are going to get somewhere besides just massaging this emotional experience, but actually giving you like practical self-sense skills.
We want to make it accessible and sustainable.
The goal of therapy is for therapy to end. That is the goal. Every couple we work with, we say that's the goal.
Yes.
Not every couple needs therapy. Every couple needs tools. And that's why we built the Remarriage Roadmap. Maybe I'll just say a plug about that. After doing this for 15 years, we realized that what couples need is a structure to do the work between sessions. So we created an 8-week program called the Remarriage Roadmap. Every single week works on a different muscle. 4 of them we just described today. There's also other weeks that we add. 46 videos. There's exercises, questionnaires, and we are in your earpiece. We are telling you, we are helping you work every week on a different muscle. And by the end of week 8, you will have clarity. You will be on your way to marriage 2.0 or 3.0. And I think that's something we're very excited about because it's a different model. We're flipping the model. We are going to teach you exactly how to do that. You don't need therapy. You need to do the work. And not everybody wants to do that, and that's fine. But if you like your partner, but you don't like your marriage, and you don't see yourself as a victim, because you have to own your shit. It won't work if you don't own your shit.
It's so true.
Then,
That is a requisite.
yeah, that's a prerequisite. Exactly.
I love this so much. Thank you both so much for doing this. I love this. This is a joy. You guys can seriously come on anytime.
Yay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us. This was so much fun.
You're so playful. We love
Yeah. Yeah. Where can people find you?
it. Great. So
So they can find us on our website, the Potential State. They can find us on Instagram at the Potential State. The handle will be right in the note shows. And
the Remarriage Roadmap.
yeah, the Remarriage Roadmap.
And what we're going to do, we're going to drop in. We have a toolkit with free
Yeah.
worksheets, each one working on a different muscle. You can download it for free. It's going to be in the show notes. It's Potential State /toolkit. And you can start there and just do it. And we really believe that if people had better marriages, the world would be a better place. We really believe in it. This is our way of changing the world, one couple at a time.
And I completely agree. Yes. It's amazing. Thank you both so much. Yeah. Until next time, everyone, stay connected. Drink Larry's coffee, also link in the show notes. And yeah, lovely to have you both.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks.